So we're going to have to see how this game's going to develop. Is it going to be short? Is it going to be long? And who's obviously going to be the winner? And we're about ready. As you can see, there is StarTale's Bomber.
That's right. Looking more bored than anything else. He's been rolling so far. He doesn't want it to stop right now, but he is certainly going to be concentrating. You can see his path currently through the brackets, only losing to the STC, who has put up a magnificent performance thus far in the tournament. So I was really impressed with how far he had gotten.
That's right. I think there's one result missing that was against San most recently. Literally just come off that game, which is probably why it's not there.
Right.
Of course, this is losers round 6. So Bomber, a great set of results here so far. The SCC is a good Terran player that's been playing very well at this tournament as well, so not too surprised in that. Of course, Bomber's strength's always his Terran vs Protoss, and most recently Terran vs ZvT. His Terran vs Terran's always been a little bit shaky, but he did manage to get a win there against Sculpt 2-1 to kind of redeem himself in that regard.
Yeah, not only has Bomber been initially good in TVP, but he got some of the absolute best PV tiers to practice with on a regular basis in Squirtle and Parting, so that certainly works towards his favor. But how is his PvZ going to fare? As Bomber is certainly getting in the zone now.
Yeah, I mean, Bomber's been a great player, but so is this guy. This guy has managed to come through against the odds as life. Remember, he's only played a couple of games, as you mentioned, was seeded into winners round 4 due to winning the regionals, the European regionals. Did fall down 0-2, as you said, exploited, but that time he was able, or this time was able to come back with a 2-1 win against a GSL champion, the most recent GSL champion. That must be able to fuel his confidence, I hope.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he's got to be riding high after that, especially with that last win. I mean, that was an insane game, and he was able to pull that off. I mean, the difference in the game, him winning or losing, came down to those sick transfusions on that Nidus run, but he was able to pull it off over and over again. So can he carry it through here? Looks like we're just going to go ahead and jump into the game here in just a second and get things started, as both our players are now warming up and getting ready to do battle.
That's right, Snute from Gamers League, his team, Bomber from StarTale, going head-to-head in this best of 3. Loser goes home, winner moves on one step closer to getting into the deep, deep positions of IPL 5.
That's right, the countdown has begun, so the game is going to start here in just a second. Both players getting ready now, and I am awfully looking forward to this TVZ here to see what both these players can pop out, but I don't know, man. My eye is more so we know how Bomber reacts in these situations. My eye is going to be on Snute. We'll see how he does.
Yeah, Snute's going to be a dangerous player here, Kevin. I'm guaranteed on that. He's going to be very dangerous against Bomber.
All right, well, we're jumping into the match now. We'll see what both of these players offer. The first map is going to be Ohana. And here we are on Ohana, and down towards the bottom, or the top left-hand corner, we have our red Terran player from StarTale. It is
StarTale Bomber.
That's right, Bomber getting ready, getting warmed up, and he has got quite a task ahead of him, because this guy down here at the bottom right has just taken out the reigning Code S champion. He's our blue ZvT player from Gamers League. He is
Team Gamers League Snute.
All right, so let's see how this is going to develop. He has to face up against a very, very difficult Terran player. Bomber is definitely going to be playing a macro-focused style here, so looking long-term here. He will be trying to focus on early upgrades, early third command centers, and so on, but at the same time, if he wants to focus on this, then he has to keep in consideration the different aggressive options that ZerG have to punish these kind of styles.
And not just ZerG in general, but Snute specifically. You can see right there that the poll currently favoring Bomber over Snute at the moment, 57% to 43%. You can, of course, vote on the iOS iTunes app. Just search for IGN Pro League or on the front page of IGN.com. Also, for everyone who's here in the audience, if you want to win some prizes, you can actually head over to the Shoot Mania area. They are giving out quite a bit for testing out the game and trying it out, so try your hand over there at a new esport title. For now, though, Command Center first, followed by a Barracks for Bomber. Pretty traditional. Hatch first coming out for Snute. Nothing really out of the ordinary.
Yeah, the safest version of the Command Center first basically creates a wall off. For example, if there were to be any 6 pulls or something from Snute, then Bomber already has a wall off. The Zerglings can scratch away on the wall, but obviously it can be repaired once the structure is finally complete. So just the safe version of this. And behind it, we don't actually see Bomber taking any gases yet, which is incredibly early. I mean, would be at a good time. So I think that we could be seeing him, after going for the orbitals, going for a fast third. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly fits into his playstyle too, and it gives him a lot of flexibility out of that. He can start to get a better idea of what his opponent is up to, which Snute is being very diligent with his scouting right now. He's checking around for proxy barracks in the most likely locations, not finding anything out of the ordinary, but he hasn't gotten over to his opponent's base quite yet, so he hasn't picked up on this. And there it is, that fast third that you were just talking about.
Yeah, so Bomber's, putting it out there. This is how he's going to play, and we'll see how Snute's going to react to this, because of course Snute hasn't really seen anything. He hasn't drone scouted. Well, he hasn't yet. He's got overlords on the natural and will be, of course, coming around to the back. But if Snute doesn't really identify this and just plays a normal style, then he could technically fall behind in terms of economy.
A sweet little statistic there down at the bottom. The 2004 Norway Dance Dance Revolution champion was Snute, getting cheers from the crowd there. I had no idea this guy's competitive gaming roots were based in dancing games.
Well, I guess we'll see who's on the dance floor at the after party, won't we?
Well, he wants it to be him now, and he's certainly going to have his options to try and get in early and do damage against Bomber, but is he just going to try and play out that long macro game? Of course, opening up with 4 queens, double gas afterwards. Still one of those players that's holding on to that the early 4-queen no-gas build.
Yes, absolutely, and he will be wanting to get that creep spread out as fast as possible. Bomber is banking up to 500 minerals right now. Just built another orbital command. I wonder if he's going to slap down a couple of barracks. He has quite a lot to do so. There it is, and there's the precaution, as mentioned, through going for this very greedy style. 3 barracks and a bunker right behind it. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what his opponent's doing. And we actually do see double gases taken from Snute, so anything is viable for him to be aggressive with. He could use aggression. He could still technically go straight up towards a lair as well.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I mean, we assume he's going to get that Zergling speed first, but what does he do with it afterwards? As we're going to find out here momentarily, there's 100-100, and that's a lair. He drops it right away, making sure that he can move up his tech tree very quickly, not stopping the gas mining whatsoever.
Yeah, and he's going to be sitting on 5 queens and a 6-minute lair. So he's built no lings in this game. He's got no spine crawlers. He's cut a few corners of his own blindly. So both of these players are just saying to themselves, well, this is the style I'm going to play. I don't really expect my opponent in game number 1 of this very important best of 3 to open up with an exploitive build. And, well, it's worked out perfectly for them here with double gases taken on the natural. He's starting to bank his own sort of resources now.
Quad gas and a nice wall up at the front, double evolution chamber and a roach war, and making sure to leave only a small gap where queens can actually plug that up in case any sort of Hellion pressure would be coming. But by now, of course, Bomber is fully sitting on 3 bases. He's saturating his, or 3 command centers. He's saturating his 2 bases as quickly as possible and pumping out a lot of initial units up at the beginning. But, he does have that nice high HP wall up the front. 4 Marines being produced at a time, few upgrades on the way, and moving up his tech tree into factory.
All right, so the lair is completed, and a 3rd base is going to be taken here by Snute. So interested to see if he's going to throw down the infestation pit. I think that's going to be the case here, but he's actually researching roach speed, so he's going to have a combination of ling roaches before he even thinks about infestors for this game, at least. Double engineering bay coming down here by Bomber. One thing that I was actually going to bring up a point, what was it? So the Hellions, the lack of Hellions and Banshees in this game. For example, usually you'd see a lot of Hellions and Banshees.
Yes.
In this game, Bomber's opted for faster engineering bays and more units. So the weakness of Bomber style is creep spread. Creep spread is something Snute has to utilize upon seeing what he's scouted with this Overseer. That's one weakness that Bomber definitely has.
Yeah, and he's already started pretty well, getting a few creep tumors, making sure that all of his bases are connected. At the 8-minute mark, he's already sending that through the middle of the map, and he does have the 5 queens with which to do that, so he's going to have a lot of excess energy that will be able to be very good about that creep spread. The Changeling has not actually been picked up on. It can get a good look at the base here in just a second if he so desires, and in fact, it is running through the main, so it's going to get a perfect read on everything inside of Bomber's main and natural.
All right, so Snute playing, as mentioned in the kind of the few words before we got into this game, is that he plays very creative. I mean, how often do you see a lot of roaches built? And looking at the count, it's about 19 roaches before he gets the infestation pit down. You don't really see that very often. And the roaches are going to be able to pressure that 3rd base a lot here. If there's no bunkers down, for example, if there's not tanks in position, they can do a lot. And already Snute's going to send them out. Roach speed is ready. He's going to go and pressure this 3rd base. And to be honest, I think he can actually gain a lot of results. There is a bunker, there is a tank, but without siege mode and the necessary upgrades for the Marines, we could see this 3rd base delayed for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, you see players like TSL Hyun that'll send out about 8 roaches, and usually at about 9 minutes, 9:15 to try and do some damage. Oh, but the roaches are actually just going to make their way right inside of the main.
Oh, the Changeling's on the supply depots. He can't lift the supply depots up.
That's a brilliant play. He's going to be able to make his way directly into the main. He's actually going to pick off the tech lab. Another tank is actually started in emergency fashion so that it can at least get off the ground, but now a little bit of damage is going to be done here. Stim Marines are pretty effective. They actually stim up twice really quickly, pushing the roaches to the back, but a lot of damage is going to be done.
Yeah, really nice little play. He's going to lose the majority of these roaches, but he's damaged the Marines. You know, he picked off a supply depot or two, and behind this, he's been droning intensively. He's actually sitting at 79 drones behind this. Granted, he doesn't have an army anymore. He's only got 78 drones and 5 queens, but now is the time where he has pathogen glands on the roll. He has 1-1 upgrades going down too, so Ling Infestors will be the choice of army from here. And that was a pretty decent start. Didn't get massive results, but it did slow Bomber down a little bit. He forgot his 2 upgrades. He lost a few Marines to lower down the overall army value.
And behind this, Snute's been doing a very effective job of continuing up his tech tree. He's got pathogen glands all the way finished enough that he can start producing infestors. He's going for a 4th base. He's already got his macro hatch. And look at this, at 11.5 minutes, you were talking about the necessity of going for high creep spread to be able to exploit what Bomber is doing. He's done that. He's going to a 5th base. He's protecting these. He's going to force Bomber to waste a lot of scans. And he's already got this creep spread almost across the map in 12 minutes.
And if the infestors don't connect with the units marching across, Snute's build has not worked out as intended. That's the plan of Snute, was to use the roaches, then get the infestors in time for a counterattack after losing a lot. And to buy time to maybe pull Bomber back, he's going to launch a counterattack, and it is going to be successful.
That's right, so he's doing damage here to this bunker, but at the same time, Bomber's making his way down creep. He's got 2 tanks and about 25 Marines that are actually involved in this push, and he is just going to make his way right in, but a good fungal growth traps a lot of Marines, those already hurt Marines that we were talking about before, and Snute is going to be able to clean this up very effectively.
Look at the timing of the infestors coming out right as the units approached that 3rd base. That was really calculated. The counterattack was, he didn't panic, he didn't, I need all these Lings at home, I need to go and counterattack at the same time. That was perfectly constructed, and now is the time where he can take his 4th and 5th, as we can see on the minimap. A perfect time to start going Hive as well. 15 more drones have just been constructed. We'll put him up to 90 in this game, but so far so good from Snute here.
That's right, he could certainly take advantage of that economy. If he delays Bomber even just a little bit more, he's going to be on well-saturated 4th and 5th bases. He's going to go up to a total of 10 gas, and that gas income is really going to propel his tech very far forward. So he's been producing a lot of infestors already. Surprised that we haven't quite seen that Hive tech yet.
Yeah, they should be coming down momentarily. He just wants to feel comfortable with a bunch of more infestors out. As currently he's sitting on 7. 7 is actually a very comfortable mark to be in. 9 is really safe. And now he starts the Hive. So it's going rather smooth here. But on the other hand, we've obviously focused a lot on what Snute's doing. Bomber's been playing very clean. Very little supply blocks. Got all his production out. Is pressuring at the right times he's meant to. His 2-2 upgrades are about to finish. And this is another time where he can start to make movement across the map, because his Marines obviously could become a lot stronger. So he will want to hit the 4th base. He'll want to hit the creep spread.
And not to mention too much Snute again, but Snute has been very annoying through all of this. He's always had creep that's being pooped down at each of the ancillary bases. He's doing a nice job of making sure that Bomber always has to pull some forces back, and he can't completely deal with what's up at the front, because if he decides to attack like he does, he's not going to have full reinforcements, and infestors are again going to be in position to try and intercept this.
And look how strong those Marines were defending back at home, but now Snute has to worry about the assault that's been landed in the middle of the map. Bomber's got to be very careful though, otherwise he'll lose every single unit here as the reinforcements are starting to swell in.
Yeah, but you know what? We mentioned before that Bomber's going to play macro, 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 and he has done that to a T. He has an impressive amount of forces for the amount of counterattacks that have happened, for the amount of stuff that's actually been stopped in the middle of the map. Zergling's actually getting a pretty nice engagement here, picking off 2 of the tanks immediately. Reinforcement's not going to be there in time for Bomber, and the whole first attack initially gets cleaned up.
Yeah, this is rather good there from Snute. Good defense. Once again, he's got a lot of money back. We just need to see the Ultras cannon started. There it is. 5 infestors to bulk up the infestor count. He did lose about 4 there, and may lose a couple of more, but the Fungals are preventing Bomber from breaking through to the 4th base once again, and Snute holds strong while continuing to tech up to upgrade, but Bomber's relentless here.
Bomber is relentless, but Snute's been doing a nice job of making sure he kills each of those attacks before the reinforcements are able to make their way up to the front. Banelings are being morphed around the side, so we can hopefully flank here in just a second, but Bomber's keeping on the pressure every time. He's keeping even on supply, he's keeping up in tech, he's moving a little bit farther forward each time, and eventually this is going to start damaging the economy of Snute, despite the fact that he has 5 running bases.
Yeah, the infestors have been holding Snute tight for a long time here, but they are starting to run out of energy, but this is Snute's time. He's going to get in there before the reinforcements come again, and yes, he will clean it up for now, but of course Bomber still coming, but I don't think that squad's going to be deep enough to be able to hold on against the new Ling and infestors that are here, and of course Bomber at the same time is still dropping in the main.
And there we have the first four Ultralists that are actually popping up. Is this drop going to get picked up on? Well, 2 Queens are attacking it at the very least. Again, this attack is dealt with very cost effectively without taking any damage to his economy there. The first bit of damage to that economy is actually being done right now, but again, it's being picked up on pretty darn well by Snute. Snute.
Snute's lava inject, Snute's mechanics are very strong in this game. As you can see, he's consistently keeping up with Bomber. He's building the right units. He's lava injecting. He's getting the lava out there to be able to hold up against these consistent assaults. Even managing to slow the force down a little bit here by bringing new units in. I don't think they're going to last too long there, as Bomber has quite a few Marines stimming up to come and help out.
Yeah, so Snute's going to have to run away, but that's not that big of a deal for him. He's delayed that base by another minute just by having that creep at the max range from underneath the Overlord, so he's done his job there. The real question is, look at the transition that's coming out of Bomber right now. He's powering up on command centers, he's adding on the additional starports, he's investing back into his weapons upgrades for his Air 2, so he's anticipating, potentially the Overlord switch and just preparing for more medevacs, more units, more Vikings later on in this game.
The one thing that we can say that Snute hasn't done in this game is research 3-3 because he was so tight pressed against Bomber. He never really took his gases on his fourth base, was building infestors to keep holding on, and that's going to make his army a lot weaker than it should be at this stage of the game. And Bomber's going to attack one more time here.
Okay, well, Bomber trying to make something work. There's a lot of forces off to the side for Snute. Will he be able to surround this perfectly? Not all of the tanks are sieged up around the back, and a great fungal growth actually captures everything. Literally every unit was caught of bombers there for a while. Will the Ultralisk be enough? Yes, it looks like they are going to clean up this position. I thought I saw another couple of tank splashes, so it looks like, yeah, there was one just around the side there. But Snute once again holds on, extends its lead a little bit further, continues to power up through tech.
Yeah, and 84 Lings on the way with 2 more Ultras. These Marines are like, no, save me! But they do not get saved. And the Ultralisk, well, at least one of them is going to pay, maybe both of them paying, as Snute forgets to bring that one back. But at the same time, look at Bomber dropping in the main, dropping on the third. He is fighting with everything he's got.
All right, so the spawning pool is going to go down. Another one will have to be put up immediately. I don't think Snute put up a secondary one just in case. One's being started right now, and the drop does pick up and get out of there without taking too many losses. So Snute, once again, trying to stop this base as much as possible, but everything's already mining. Drop comes back in one more time for Bomber. This is going to do more economic damage, and Snute is being held back at home pretty effectively.
Yeah, Snute's doing really well, but likewise is Bomber here, dropping all over the place, and the longer this game will go on, the stronger Bomber becomes, because his units are at 3-3. He is producing Marauders now, and because of the amount of pressure that Snute's under, he hasn't had the freedom, the time, just to throw down the Spire, ready to go to the Broodlords, because eventually Ultralisk will die once the Marauder count becomes heavy. So Snute's priority has to stabilize, breathe, stay calm, and then start to get the Spire down, but Bomber won't let that happen.
No, Bomber's playing fantastically. I mean, he has a really nice unit composition to deal with this. He's already got 7 tanks, 14 Marauders out there. That's going to be more than enough to deal with the 3 Ultralisks that are already on the map. Yes, this drop is going to get cleaned up, but it's already done its job. We saw before that over 30 workers have been killed in this game, so that's forced so many production cycles out of Snute, back into workers, back into economy when he really wants to be producing high-tech units.
And a very strong position here. 1 Infestor, 2 Infestors go down to a single Marauder, and that's great efficiency, potentially a third. If he's managing to get a couple more shots, he gets a third as well from 1 Marauder. But now Bomber has taken position. He brings down this left-hand side base, and Snute is not happy about that.
No, he's trying for it right now. The Bailing's crashing through the front, but they're not getting the best engagements. The target fire from the tanks was perfect. There's a huge pack of Marines that's still available. They can't get too close to the Infestors, of course, but he deals with the threat immediately, pushes Snute back off of that position, forcing him into the Planetary Fortress, and can Bomber hold that?
And what we're going to see now is just the income start to plummet here unless Snute does something about it, and he's trying to. He brings down the Planetary Fortress and a bunch of the SCVs, but at the same time, Bomber's making his own movement, his own stance.
That's right, and there's not really a lot of army that's down here for Snute. He's just sitting back and trying to go for a little bit of a base trade at the moment. Will Bomber be able to rally in enough units in time to stop the attack back at home and continue pressing at the front? There's a lot of Infestors, and they do actually have some pretty good energy, but now Vision is up at the top for Bomber, and he blasts apart a couple of those Infestors.
Well, this game's going to end one way or the other, and I have a feeling it's going to be in favor of Bomber right now. Tanks are so good at defending back at home with the high ground usage, and he's able to hold his natural. And right now, Bomber is trying to break through. Good fungals on the ramp here to prevent for the natural from being breached.
Yeah, and Snute had decided to bring his forces almost halfway back across the map before deciding, no, I've got to go, I've got to turn this around right now. Either my Infestors are going to stop this or they aren't, but I have to do my damage. And there's so many medevacs overhead that it's very easy to heal up every one of those Marines. Fungal growths are having very little impact inside of Snute's natural.
And Snute already realizes this is going to be a game of efficiency because both of the players are running out of resources. This right-hand side base shall fall in a moment's time. This one is also fallen, and eventually it could come down to just the use of the Infestor. Bomber may crumble to that.
That's right. The entire army is being cleaned up right now. So where exactly is the supply? Let's take a look at the units tab. There were, I believe, 13 workers that we were just seeing there for Bomber. So a lot of his supply is still tied up in army, but there's no income whatsoever for him right now. He's trying to lift down an orbital command to the left-hand side, but Snute is going to pick up on this pretty quickly.
This is really smart from Snute. He actually still has an Ultralist Cavern. He can build Ultras if he wants to, but he's used all of his remaining resources to build Infestors. Is this going to be the right decision to win him the game? If it is, then he's going to look like a hero.
It may very well. He just took out the last 2 remaining tanks there for Bomber, and he has a saturated base that's running up in the top left-hand corner, or top right-hand corner of the entire map. So Snute still has a really good chance here. He doesn't have a very large army, but it is pretty cost-effective in the form of those Infestors.
And of course, if we're going to see Snute focus on Infestors, the Bomber has to focus on spreading out, getting thin. If he gets clumped up and then he hits a fungal, then the game could end as fast as it begun here.
Oh, and that medevac actually saw not just the creep that was appearing on that base of the top right-hand corner, but also all of the units that were, all the units that were transferring up there. Burrowed Infestors are coming around now to Bomber's only mining base. Can they get their damage done in time? Fungal Growth actually hits all of the mules. A second one needs to pop up. It does land, and boom! The rest of the mules go down, and Bomber's economy is in shambles.
Wow, that just put Bomber down to 5 SCVs in this game, and then the handful of mules that he has left. This is going the distance. This game will go to the very end until neither player has anything left. And all Lings have broken in here. They are fully upgraded, and they will chase these Marauders home.
A very nice job by Snute to just funnel some around the left-hand side so they weren't all running through one tiny little choke point. Oh, but Bomber comes back just in time with the medevacs to save a lot of those units up at the top. A very heads-up play from him there to make use of the units that he has left.
Oh, this is very smart for Bomber here, actually getting a Banshee out. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute as more and more Lings are starting to crawl and fight away at this wall. But the Banshee, if he somehow finds the resource to get Cloak, I don't know if he wants to invest in that, but a big chunk of units caught here. He wants to keep them fungled.
Oh, and he's going to do it too. Just one more fungal would actually take out most of those Marauders, but most of them get away. They're now underneath the healing power of the medevacs, so Snute has to back up. Still Burrowed Infestors running underneath all of Bomber's forces.
Thinking about it a little bit deeper now, Cloak would be the wrong decision. Just more and more Banshees, because if you think about it, how many shots, infested, Terrans, fungals does it take to kill a Banshee? A lot. And at this stage, that could be a game-winning move if he continues to build them. He is going to do that. And if he's able to spread the Banshees out with his unit spread out to combat the Infestors, Bomber could easily turn this game in his favor.
And Bomber's using these medevacs really effectively to pick up scouts. He still hasn't explicitly detected that base in the top right-hand corner, but we did mention before that he saw a lot of things associated with that. More Marauders inside of the main. Marauders, of course, not going to be the most effective against those upgraded Zerglings, but they're still just running everywhere, and they still have a lot of firepower between them.
Oh, and a good grab there by Snute from the high ground. Grabs a lot of these Marauders. Bomber's coming to save them, but is that going to be a wise decision? Because more and more units are getting trapped. There are a lot of Infestors here.
He's actually done a very nice job of saving a good portion of those units, though. Only a couple of his bio units actually went down, and now Bomber's just on the doorstep of his opponent, but backs away again without checking if there really is a base there.
Oh, he is going to research Cloak. Look at that. He's got Cloak as well because he's starting to mine so efficiently from that left-hand side base. This is going to be hard-pressed for Snute to actually find out what's going on. He has absolutely no idea about it.
Bomber sending a medevac down to the bottom right-hand corner base, the brand new one that Snute's putting up right now that's about ready to finish. Oh, but Snute may pick up on this. If he can get up with those Infestors, no, it gets out of the way. He is going to need to send something back to defend that base, though, as that's really critical. There's a lot of resources sitting around there.
Oh, look how well spread out Bomber is, identifying what he's going to be weak against, and he's found this base. I think that Snute should have enough. Yes, he definitely has enough here to prevent this from going down. Looking at the SCVs, they have climbed back up to 18.
Man, those Marauders can just take so much damage in the middle of all those units there, but everything's going to get fungled up, and eventually that's all going to go down. Now, no more Infestors, I believe, have actually burrowed or been sent through the left-hand side. That hatchery got so close to falling, but Snute was able to pick it up just by the skin of his teeth.
There's 4 Banshees ready to go now. I've got a lot of energy saved up. A 5th one is being built. And these expansions are completely untouched. And the first Banshee is going to make its way across. Its sole goal here is to get to the Infestors, to cloak and find the Infestors.
That's right. If they can just go one at a time, continue baiting out fungal growths over and over again, that is going to be devastating for Snute. And he does cloak right over the top. A good fungal growth hits it, but it's going to require more infestors to come back. And at the same time, Bomber starts to move up with the vast majority of his forces, catching a couple of infestors out pretty cost effectively.
Oh, the infestors starting to drop relatively fast here. All the Banshees come in their cloak. They are not seen from Snute. He puts all the infested turrets down. This is going to be the end of the game.
That's right, because he has no response to these anti-air units. They're actually just heading down to the bottom right. He knows that he can't win this war against the fight that's against all the infestors, against all the Zerglings that are right there. So now his Banshees, I assume, are heading down and start picking off structures, but they're not being brought back. They're not being utilized.
Uh-oh, the infestors have gone from about 20 down to 2 now, and Lings are surrounding the handful of units there. Infested Terrans are getting a kind of a fight in. This hatchery shall fall if the Banshees target it down. It is going to go. And this game is just down to the wire here.
But that's right, but now we're in a situation where there's a good amount of air units that are out for Bomber. He can actually lift off a lot of his unused structures here, float them in the corners of the map, and then Snute, he needs to be incredibly cost-effective with his infestors, otherwise he stands absolutely no chance.
This is so smart from Bomber to go for these Banshees. There's just not enough anti-air. There's a Spore Crawler trying to be made in desperation to hold on to this location. It is the only mining base left of Snute. If he loses this, he loses his income in the game. The Spore Crawler goes down, no anti-air whatsoever, and Bomber's intelligent mind has chosen the right strategy, the right pathway to go across this, and with a complete wall and back at home, that will never get breached by Zerglings alone.
That's right, so now Snute has very few options at this point. He's trying to make as many infestors as he can, but unfortunately his economy is just nil. He has nothing going for him now, and he's going to try and hit a couple more structures, but honestly, Bomber has put himself in an incredible position.
There's no mining bases left for Snute. The last base has gone down. He's got no income right now. It is at 0. He's got 5 minerals in the bank. He has no way to build a hatchery. He's going to have to distance mine, and Bomber has done it. GG, caught by Snute.
Wow, and what a game number 1 to start us off. All hope looked lost for Snute there through the middle after the big engagements, but he finds a way to hide a base in the top right-hand corner. He rallies back, but it's still just not quite enough. That Banshee transition so good from Bomber.
And I'm sure Bomber's thinking, what just happened in that game? That was not normal at all. That you rarely see that game unfold like that. The roaches initially early on, the base trade scenario, back and forth action completely. A good game from both sides, but eventually one winner.